She will be talking about student-centered coaching. So you're in for a real treat. Take it away, Jamie.
All right. Actually snowy, although the snow is starting to melt, so that's kind of nice because we are thinking spring and it's not really feeling like spring. So thank you everyone for joining my session. I'm going to be talking about student-centered instructional coaching today and kind of my journey as a coach because it has probably been the most uncomfortable piece of my job when I started this position, and it's becoming one of my favorites. So I just wanted to share with everyone my journey as a coach and how I came to start using student-centered instructional coaching. Now, the name of my session started out as who, what, when, where, whys, and I added in hows just to kind of share with you what it looks like and how you get started with it. And yeah, it's just been a really good journey for me, and I'm excited to share that with everyone. And when I talk about student-centered instructional coaching, it's not something that I made up. It's something that came from Diane Sweeney in her book, and I'll kind of talk about that later on in my presentation. But on my first slide, you will see you will have access to my presentation if you need resources or anything like that. So please feel free to use it. I share whatever I am sharing today, and I will have my email on the last slide as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who I am. So we'll go to that first slide. I am Jamie Utecht, obviously. I am a reading specialist literacy coach in Wisconsin, and I've been teaching for 9 years. So my first year I taught special education, and then I went into second grade for 4 years, which was so much fun. I love second grade. If any of you have ever taught second grade, you would probably agree it's a fun age. And then I went into the reading specialist literacy coach position after my 4th year. And that was kind of a surprise for me. It was, oh, do you want it? And I'm like, I don't know. And yeah, here I am 4 years later, still doing it. So it was a good change for me. Some of the things I'm really interested in are Readers and Writers Workshop, technology. I love the use of technology in classrooms. I'm so intrigued by what you can do with technology. Using data to inform instruction is a huge thing, and especially in my coaching, which I'll talk to you about later. And then the student-centered coaching has become very important to me in my work as a coach and yeah, as a reading specialist as well. So now I'm going to kind of talk to you about a little bit about where I'm from. So on that next slide, I actually teach in a small school district. It's called the Random Lake School District, and there is a Random Lake there. Believe it or not, there is one there. We are K-12 all in one building, which is so nice. Being able to, especially as a reading specialist, being able to go to different students. K-12 is so, I mean, just walking down a hall, it's wonderful. We have 830 students and 78 staff members, and what's pretty unique about us in our area is that everyone in our district is one-to-one technology. So our littles have iPads, our middle school and high school students have laptops, and everyone has devices, which is really neat. And it's something that we don't always see in our area. So it's something we're a little ahead on, which is kind of neat. So that's kind of where we're from. So now I want to get to know you, whoever is watching me. So I want to know, using our Twitter hashtag, the EdCollabGathering, number 11, hashtag 11, I want to know your name, your position, and then your experience with coaching, okay? And I'll kind of look to see what we have shared here. Also, throughout the presentation, I just want to tell you that too, please use this hashtag as well to ask any questions, because I am more than willing to answer them. So I'll just give a couple minutes to see who you are, what your position is, and what your experience is with coaching. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited too. Oh, and Chris, yes, we are fellow Wisconsinites. I was going to mention that too. We are both from Wisconsin, which is pretty cool. It's a nice place to live. So, all right. So we'll kind of move on from that. Thank you for sharing. I'm excited to collaborate with everyone. I'm just excited about sharing my journey with everyone. It looks like we have some people in Texas, and yes, I'm excited. Chicago, that's wonderful. 4 years, 2 years as student-centered coach. Oh, yay. A fellow student-centered coacher. That's awesome. All right, so I'm just going to kind of get into what student-centered coaching is and why we chose to move on, or to choose that coaching framework in our district. So student-centered coaching is when we set specific targets for students that are rooted in the standards and curriculum, and then we work collaboratively to ensure that those targets are met. So in the past, I've always used, in my coaching work in the past, I always used teacher-centered coaching, which was really working with the teacher. And I found that although it did help the teacher in some ways, I really wasn't seeing the carry through of it when I would leave the classroom. So I was looking for something a little bit more than just, okay, here are your resources and then go. I was looking for something where it was really dependent on students and what they were doing and how they were reacting to what we were doing in the classroom. And so on the next slide, we'll talk about why did I choose it. It is because I was doing these teacher-centered, which there is a time and place for it. I'm not saying it's not, but I wanted something a little bit more. I wanted to see what is happening with our students because of what we're doing as teachers. And that's why we chose to go to this framework, because we really wanted it to be more student-centered and less about the teacher and the coach. If you go to the next slide, what Diane says is that effective professional development provides continued follow-up, support, and pressure that can only be delivered by a school-based coach. And that is why our district really went towards this instructional coaching model in our district, because we really want to have teachers be available to grow within our district with each other as we collaborate. And it's such a powerful way to grow as a teacher. And then the next slide, we talk about how a coach is viewed as a partner. And what I really like about that in this coaching framework is that oftentimes, no matter, even if you say you're not an administrator as a coach, sometimes you're viewed that way. And I really wanted I want to do whatever I could as a coach to not be viewed that way. And I feel like with student-centered coaching, it's a partnership, because we're talking about the students as if they are our students, and we're talking about where they are and where we need to take them, and we're planning lessons based off of that data. And that's what I really enjoy about this framework, is that I'm a partner and I'm not viewed as someone who's evaluating or judging. We're in this together for our students. So now you're probably wondering, okay, so we picked student-centered coaching as our framework for coaching. How did we get this all started? So on the next slide, I'm just going to talk about, we decided so there were 2 other coaches with me at the time. Unfortunately, now I'm the only one this year, but I'm thinking next year that we might get another one back. We decided that we really wanted to share it with the staff, because there were a lot of misconceptions about coaching, or different views on coaching, I should say. What should a coach be doing, and what does it look like in the classroom? And so the coaches and I put together a short presentation to share at all of our staff meetings, which, like I said, it's really nice. We're all under the same roof. So I could just walk down the hall from one to the next staff meeting, which is really nice. And we put together this presentation to share at our staff meetings, to just kind of share what is student-centered coaching, what isn't student-centered coaching, why are we doing it this way, and then also we found this really neat video of what student-centered coaching is, kind of to give them a visual, and we shared that all in our presentation, which today I'm not going to share the presentation. However, if you want to, it is linked on that slide. So when you look at my slides on your own, you are going to be able to look at that, which is another resource for you. So after we shared our presentation, we created a letter for teachers. Now, this letter is actually based off of the letter that Diane Sweeney created. And it's just okay, so do you, it talks about what they want to specifically work on with a coach, and then interests as far as like what do they want to work on with their students? What do their students need? And then it just asks them to give the form back to the coaches. So we gave all of the teachers a letter in the meeting, as well as we also put them in all of our staff lunchrooms and workrooms. And whenever a teacher would want to start a coaching cycle or was interested in starting a coaching cycle, they would just fill out one of those forms and drop them in our mailbox, and then we would go and talk to the teachers, which was a really nice way to do it because it was voluntary. We're not forcing ourselves into a classroom. We're actually asking people to reach out. And what was really nice is that right away we were already having people who were wanting to do coaching cycles, which was really fun. And I think part of the reason that we had people who were wanting to join so quickly is because we had administrators who were really supportive of our work, and they really talked us up in the staff meetings of, it would be really great if you worked with Jamie or Jenny on this, or, they know a lot about this or whatever, to kind of talk us up and get us in the classrooms. Because as we all know as coaches, good coaching is contagious. And if you see something that you really are excited about, then you're going to want to do it too, right? I mean, that's with anything. So it was just really exciting to have people sign up right away. And because obviously, even as a coach, you're a little bit like, okay, I hope somebody wants to work with me. But yeah, it was just really exciting. So that's how we got into the classrooms. So for the next slide, I'm just going to talk about a little bit about our coaching cycles. So how long are they, and things like that. So basically, we are in coaching cycles for about 6 to 8 weeks. So that includes a pre-assessment at the beginning, and then a post-assessment at the end of the coaching cycle. And so they're about 6 to 8 weeks. It does not mean that they have to be 6 to 8 weeks. So oftentimes in our older grades, they want to move a little quicker, and that's totally okay with us. That's just a ballpark of, okay, so I'm going to do a coaching cycle. About how much of my time am I going to be committing to you? And typically it's around 6 to 8 weeks. And then on the next slide, we'll just kind of talk about, okay, so I've told you what student-centered coaching is. I've told you how long it takes, how we presented it to staff. And now I'm going to share with you an example of one of our coaching cycles. Now, this was our first coaching cycle, and I'll kind of give you a little background on it. I actually did this coaching cycle with one of my fellow coaches. It was our first one. And what was really nice is that we were able to do it together because we both are only 25% coaches. So on top with the coaching, I also work with intervention groups for a Title I school. So it is hard sometimes to rearrange schedules and get into the classroom. So it was really, really nice to work together with another coach, especially because we were both new to coaching. Also, a neat thing about this first grade team too was that they were all new to first grade or new teachers. And so they were really looking for information on different areas, and they were just really hungry to learn more. And they were just a really fun group. So they had written to us one of our coaching request forms at the beginning of the year. And they had said on the form that they were really looking to differentiate in their first grade classrooms. So you're probably thinking, wow, that's a huge topic, right? It's a really broad topic, differentiation. So Jenny and I, we looked at the form and we're like, okay, let's go chat with first grade. And so we got into the classroom and we're like, okay, so you said you wanted to work on differentiation. What are you thinking? And we kind of threw around a couple of ideas. And eventually we decided that we were going to work on word study in the first grade classroom, because they were noticing that students weren't catching on to those short vowel patterns or blends, digraphs. And so we decided that's what we're really going to focus on. And then what was really nice is that they had me as the reading specialist, and then they had Jenny, who was the GT coordinator, to work with. So we could really do a lot with that, and plan lessons that were for both our students who were on the lower end, but also on the higher end, which was really fun. So on the next slide, I'm just going to talk about, so we decided on that. Then we had to decide what is our pre-assessment going to be. And we kind of looked through all of our resources, and we decided to use the Words Their Way spelling inventory. So all of the teachers administered that inventory and then analyzed all the data and brought it back to our team. And then we decided, okay, so how are we going to do this? What will teaching look like on a day-to-day basis based off of what we know about our students based on this inventory? And we decided to do flexible groupings. Now, when I say flexible groupings, I mean that all of first grade, they were all our students. And so the 3 teachers that we went through, and we divided students into groups. And then each teacher, they would travel classrooms and go to different groups. And they were flexible groupings, meaning that just because you're in a group does not mean that you're forever in a group. You just are in that group for now, and then we'll instruct and reevaluate as we go. So use that spelling inventory to really get to know our students and figure out what they needed to work on. So if you go to the next slide, here are some things that we did in our learning plan. So obviously we did the flexible grouping. So we had 3 separate groups, and we actually had a really nice spreadsheet of who is where at what time, which was really nice. And we also had, so there were 2 coaches and 3 teachers. So during that time, the 2 coaches, Jenny and I, would float between the 3 classrooms. And some of the things we did were we co-taught together. So we would plan a lesson and teach it together. Sometimes the coaches would just walk around and collect student data. So we would have a little clipboard with a little form, and I have it shared on this document of just a really simple form of a plus and a minus, and then a spot for a name. And the student, we would just write the student name down. We'd say what they were doing well, what they still needed to work on as we were walking around the classroom, because, you know, as a teacher, you can't meet with every single child sometimes in a day. So it was nice to have that extra data for the teacher, so that he or she could go around and look at that later on to see, oh man, this student still needs to work on TH. So I better grab that student tomorrow to work on that. So that was a nice support for teachers, and they really enjoyed that. We also co-conferred. By that I mean, so the teacher was conferring, and then the coach would sit right next to the teacher and support along the way, and that was a big one for them, because one teacher was coming from 3rd grade and another teacher was coming from 2nd, and they both wanted a little bit help with the 1st grade. What did 1st grade conferring look like? So we worked on that together, and it was really fun. And it was so fun seeing growth too. The teachers really enjoyed it. And then we also modeled lessons. So Jenny or I would come into the classroom, we'd model a lesson, and then we would kind of chat after. What did you see? What do you see yourself doing with that? How would you do it differently? It was just a really nice way to kind of evaluate what should teaching look like in 1st grade, and also as a nice way to reflect on what am I doing already that's really awesome, and then what are some things that I can really work on as well. So that was a lot of fun. We also, so besides those things that we did with the teachers, we also reviewed formative data weekly. So those student watching forms, we looked at those constantly. Let's say that the students were working on a sort, we would kind of walk around and check to see that they were understanding the patterns. Sometimes the teachers did little quick checks of, okay, give them 5 words and write them down and see if they know the patterns that way. So we reviewed that data weekly to see, okay, do we need to move students? Are students still kind of needing to work on the same pattern? What do we need to do here? But also a big commitment of student-centered coaching is that you have to plan together once a week. So once a week we got together, we planned, we thought about, okay, what are we doing that's working? What are we doing that isn't working? How can we change things? Just to keep it fresh and to make sure that our students were learning, okay? Because that's the big piece of it. We want our students to grow and learn, and that is the big focus of student-centered coaching. So on the next slide, I'll just kind of share with you our post-assessment data. So we did all of the teaching. We were talking about formative assessments constantly. We were working together. We were co-teaching. We were co-conferring. And then at the end of our coaching cycle, we did a post-assessment. So we obviously used here the same pre-assessment, but then we compared results. So on this slide, you're just going to see, so the blue is the pre-assessment. So most of the students were in digraphs and short vowels. That's what they were working on. And then some were working on those common long vowels, some were in the other vowels. But then at the end, the post-assessment, when we did the assessment again, the students were moving on from that, which was really exciting to see. So they were kind of moving away from digraphs into blends and then common long vowels. So we were just seeing a lot of growth from that, which was so exciting. So the power of working together and thinking about our teaching and thinking about our students really did pay off. And if you look at the next slide, this is just a nice way to see it too. So again, the data from the spelling inventory, which she's pulling up here. So this just shows it in a pie chart form. So at the beginning of the session, we really were working on those beginning sounds, the short vowels, and then at the end, 50% common long vowels. That's great growth. According to the Words Their Way, they want them at the beginning of the year in the initial and final consonants and mid-year short vowel and digraphs, and many of our students were past that. So it was just a really cool celebration of, wow, students really can make a lot of great progress with careful planning and attention to assessment. And it doesn't have to be, give them a test all the time. Just that formative data of, okay, how are they doing in the classroom and what can I do to help them? And those small groups too. So if you look at the next slide, I'm just going to share with you some of the resources we use in that coaching cycle. So we have that student-centered coaching form, which I'm going to go over in just a little bit. So that we write down everything we've done in the coaching cycle, our pre-assessment data, our post-assessment data, our coaching practices that we used, what our goal was, all of those good things. That I'm going to show that to you in a couple minutes. Our student watching form. So I have a link on there for you. It's just a simple form. What are they doing well? And what do they still need to work on? And actually, I think I got the idea from Jennifer Saravella. She's awesome. She shares so many great resources, and I love that resource because it's so simple of what are they doing well? What do we still need to work on? And that's that. We also put together a word study option. So a lot of the group work was also independent work as the teacher would float around and help specific groups of students. And so we are really struggling with, okay, so what can our first graders do while we are floating around and working with other groups? And so we came up with some neat word study options that were meaningful and would help them with their, will help them grow in their knowledge of vowel patterns and word patterns. And we created videos of what it should look like, so that if a student is, let's say, trying to do a word hunt in a book and they don't really know how to do it, instead of the teacher saying, okay, this is how you do it, there's actually a video of, okay, if you don't know how to do it, here's a video, watch it, and then come back to me if you have any questions. Could also be used at home. So that's another thing that I shared in the resources that we use in that coaching cycle. And yeah, so those are the resources we use. And also, if you look in the lower left-hand corner of this slide as well, that is the link to my slides. So if you need the link for it, there it is. And all of these things are open for you to check out. So let's get into the student-centered coaching form from that coaching cycle. So this is actually taken from Diane's student-centered coaching book. And I'll just kind of go through all of the pieces of it and how we used them in our coaching cycle. So we obviously worked with the first grade team. The dates are up at the top, and then our focus. So we will be focusing our time on differentiated word study instruction. So then we pulled from so in Wisconsin, we use the Common Core State Standards. We pulled the standards that we would be working on in that left-hand column. And we also, in this column, talked about our data. So on the next slide, you'll see more of it. But as you can see there in the bottom left-hand corner, there is some of the data in there. We also thought about what instructional practices will we be using to support our students. So we decided on the small group instruction. We'll plan lessons as a group and implement them together. The coaches, we obviously suggested using the Words Their Way inventory. We used a couple of different sites. There's actually a first grade teacher here in Wisconsin that we collaborated with, which was really fun. We actually did some Google Hangouts with her and she supported us, and it was just really nice to have another first grade teacher to help us with the word study piece in first grade. Some of the coaching practices we used, so we co-taught, we collaboratively planned, we analyzed student work, and then some of the other things we did, the Google Hangout, we co-conferred, the coach did some data collection and debriefing, and we used our coaching log. And then obviously we use spelling inventories, and then that right-hand column is just going to show our growth. And so it's really neat to see, okay, so we're seeing a decrease in some areas, but then an increase in others. So that was just so exciting for the teachers to see, oh my gosh, what I'm doing is working with my students. It's so exciting. So if you go to the next slide, that's just the bottom of the coaching tool. So again, on that left-hand column, more of the pre-assessment data, and the right-hand column, more of the post-assessment data, and then some more about our instructional practices. But then on the bottom is what I really enjoy. So like I said, when I first started coaching, I used a lot of teacher-centered coaching, which isn't a bad thing, but I really wanted more. And mainly because oftentimes what happened was that I felt like I'd leave and then I'm not really sure what was going on after that. But with this, framework for coaching, we really plan out what's going to happen after I leave, because we have our end of the coaching cycle meeting and we talk about, okay, so what happened here and what can we learn from it and how can we move on? And so the first grade teachers really were excited, and they were just ecstatic to use the data from the end and then regroup and start on after we left. So they used the post-assessment data to regroup their students, and then they requested that the coaches kind of check in with them along the way and see if they needed any supports. But they divided their students, and then they also kind of rearranged their schedule. So what did their schedule look like at the end? Because they did their readers, writers, all the ELA topics towards the end of the day. And then they also planned for right after the assessment. So it was kind of neat of, okay, so we've done all this work together. Your students have made wonderful progress because of your wonderful teaching. And now what are we going to do from here? And it was a really neat thing, because even when Jenny and I would go and check in on them and see, do you guys need anything? They were just doing wonderful things in their classrooms. And actually to this day, they're doing wonderful things with the word study piece in first grade. So now we're going to get into, let's talk about some celebrations. Okay, so what were some celebrations that we've seen? And I'm going to talk about that coaching cycle, but then other coaching cycles I've done as well, because coaching it's so powerful, and it really does help our students. It really does. And working together as a team is so important, because, everyone has their strengths, and it's so fun to learn from each other. And it's great to have a culture of learning in a school, and where we can all learn from each other and our strengths. So here are some celebrations. So on that next slide, we're going to talk about student data and how it supported growth. And it took us in a positive direction. So when we had our conversations with our teams, we always talked about, okay, how are the students doing and which way are they going? And we always talked about students, always students. How are they doing? What do we need to do to help them? What do we need to do to help them grow? And it was always about students, which was so powerful, and it moved us in a great direction. We also are so excited that teachers are still using those strategies in their classrooms. So if I walk into a first grade classroom today, even, or not today because today is Saturday, but next week, Monday, they'll still be doing the same things, which is so exciting because they were seeing a lot of great growth from their students. And I'm just really excited to see that. Data was used to inform instruction now. I'm not saying, yes, do tests all the time, but this formative data was just used to help students see their strengths and move forward with them. And it was just really exciting to see. And coaches and teachers grew together. So it's not just the teachers growing, it's the coaches too. I mean, when you're a first grade teacher, you're an expert in first grade. And I'm a coach and I know reading, but you know your first graders. So it's just exciting to learn from each other because just seeing how different teachers teach things or language that's used, it was just so exciting to grow together. And what's really nice is that you're working with a goal in mind because everything we do is for our students, and we're creating a goal for them to move forward. So now we're going to get into what I want to know from you. So we're going to go back into Twitter, and I want to ask you, what have been some of your celebrations as a coach, teacher, leader, administrator, or teacher, as far as that matters? What are your coaching celebrations from coaching? We'll kind of give you a couple minutes, and then we'll share. All right. Did I lose you?
We're on. We're back on again. I don't know what happened. Sorry, people out there. Sorry, Jamie. My device just shut down. All right, I'm coming away. Continue on. So
okay. So celebrations, yay! And I thank you everyone for talking about coaching is always about students. That is my goal, is to talk about, yes, it's about students. It's about helping our students be successful in the classroom. And yes, it's just wonderful to see that. Now I'm going to talk about some of the, so yes, we had celebrations, but we also had some learnings in this process as we went through coaching. So I'm going to talk about challenges, or I should even say learnings, because I feel like when you have a challenge and it's hard, it always pushes you a lot further and you learn a lot more from it. So I'm just going to talk about some of our learnings from it. So here we go. On this next slide, we'll just talk about relationships are so important in a coaching cycle. And I'm the first to say that teaching is it's from the heart, right? We're all there for a reason to help our students, and it's very personal. Teaching is personal, and everything that we do in a classroom is for our students. And relationships are so important with the teachers because we want to support them and we want to build that relationship with them of it's okay and we're going to do this together and we're in this together, basically. So we learned that relationships are important and setting group norms should be done right away in a coaching cycle. So what do you want from me? And actually, I just met with a 4th grade team I'm going to be working with for the end of the year. And we just said, what are the 3 big things we need from each other? So like being on time. One of ours is judgment-free zone. Hey, I'm totally okay with that. And you can make it fun too. One of ours was bring treats to the meetings because, you know, as teachers, we just like those sweet treats to help us, you know, in our day of hectic. It's, you know, being a teacher, it's hard work. So just setting 3 big norms of, okay, what do we expect from each other? And it's a respect thing. And we also learned how to work with different personalities because we are all different and it's good to learn from each other and we all have something to bring. So it was really neat as a coach to grow that way as well. And school culture is so important. So if we didn't have the support in our school from our principals, I don't even know. I mean, it was so important. And setting that culture of collaboration is so important because that's what we're doing the entire time in a coaching cycle is collaborating with each other. So that school culture piece is so important. And I will say it myself, being uncomfortable is part of the process. And there are going to be uncomfortable moments, but that's okay because like I said, we're growing and we're learning. And I feel like the most learning I ever do is when I'm uncomfortable. And I'm not sure if I'm the only one that believes that. I don't think I am. You have to be uncomfortable to grow. And it really was. I mean, there were some moments where we were uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, when we looked at our post-assessment data, we were all so excited for the growth we saw with our students. It was really exciting to see. So now I want to know something more from you. So go back to Twitter again, and I want to know what have been some of your challenges as a coach, teacher, leader, or administrator. So use our hashtag to share your thoughts. The EdCollabGathering, #11, and let me know what have been some of your challenges or learnings. What are some things that you grew in? So I'll just give a couple seconds to look at that. All right, I just saw that some experimenting with reading buddies in 7th and 5th grade. That's awesome. So, gosh, I'm just excited to hear about some of the great things that are happening in classrooms. It just makes us really excited. So we're kind of reaching the end of our time here. So I just want to talk about this. The coaching process is simple. So you pre-assess and you plan. You co-plan, you teach and you support, and then you post-assess and celebrate. And that's what it's all about, is celebrating our students and celebrating our teachers. And that is the key to the coaching, student-centered coaching. On that last, on the next slide, additional coaching support. So not only do we do coaching cycles, but we do a couple of other supports with coaching. So I do grade level data and ELA meetings once a month with our teachers. So we go over student data, how are students doing. We also do ELA meetings of, okay, what are some topics that you really need support with? And I bring resources. So I still do some of that. We've tried a Twitter chat last year. We've done lunch and learns on different topics of things that we needed at the time. I've also created screencasts. I've played around with that and started a blog, which is a work in progress. I'm always so jealous of everyone who has these wonderful blogs. I need to get better about it. But I just want to say, as we kind of wrap up here, I just want to say thank you everyone for listening. Now, I will never say I am an expert in this area. I am definitely learning, and that's what I wanted to share with you is that coaching has been something that I've really wanted to grow in, and it's just been a journey, and I wanted to share that journey with everyone because I'm sure that I'm not alone in thinking that, man, what have I gotten myself into? But then celebrate of, man, this is really great work that I'm doing. So I just wanted to put it out there that we're all in this together, and I'm excited to collaborate with all of you as I hear from you on Twitter. And then, as if you reach out for email, I have my email on here. I said it before, I'm willing to share any resources that I have. And on the last couple slides, I just shared some other resources that I have used, some books that are really good that I've read, but I also can't say enough about just collaborating with others and building each other up, because we're here for the students, and that's what it's all about. So if you have any questions, you can find me at my email there or on Twitter. Like I said, I would love to collaborate with everyone. But thank you so much for listening to me today. I really enjoyed learning from all of you, especially from all of your tweets and what you're doing in your schools. It's really awesome. So thank you very much.
Okay. So thanks, Jamie. I am so sorry I was having my tech issues on this end, but this was a fabulous presentation, and I will also tweet it out under your hashtag, the EdCollabGathering number 11, hashtag 11, so that people can have access to all the chock full of resources that you were so willing to share, and then they'll also have your contact information. So that'll be great. So thank you for your insight on student-centered coaching and just shifting the conversation. It's not teacher-centered, right? So fabulous. Okay, so for everyone still tuned in, we are in for an amazing closing keynote. So that will begin at 3. You have 15 minutes to kind of digest everything you just heard and connect with Jamie on the Twitterverse. And then we will see you at the closing keynote. Bye.